because you've got just over, what, 5 hours or so to fill up your vehicle before diesel and petrol prices rise at midnight. 37 cents a litre more for petrol, between 71 and 72 cents a litre more for diesel. Illuminating paraffin also goes up because it's under particular pressure, hikes for 2 months in a row, but both fuels are derived from crude oil. So why is diesel taking the biggest hit?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, let's just understand that, petrol and diesel are two different fuels, Sally, and the refining process for both of those and the processes involved in bringing them from, where we source them to the tanks are different. And that accounts for much of the difference in the costs between the two fuels. But you're absolutely correct. I mean, we saw a little bit of a decrease in June to the diesel prices, which was obviously, very welcome, coming down from around 20 Rand 15 to just under, 1932, which is good news. But now we're back over, 2021 a litre, which is, last seen kind of around about April, May this year, and not good news. But the bottom line is that, yes, we use the fuels in the same way, but there are different fuels and there's different refining processes, and that accounts for differences in price structures.
I see. Okay. So my understanding is that these increases would have been even steeper if our rand hadn't done quite well in the last month. But talk to me about what's going on with the price of oil. I understand there's been a restriction on supply. And it's at a 3-month high. Does that mean we're in for another ongoing hike? Where are we heading in terms of the price of crude oil globally?
Yeah, I think, Sally, I would love to give you that answer and then go out and buy a lotto ticket, because I think I'd be, a very happy man. Look, I think, there are obviously a lot of factors at play. We're seeing output being cut. We're seeing problems in terms of delivery. So there are definitely issues in terms of oil pricing. Where it's going to go to, nobody knows. The first part of your intro there was absolutely correct. I mean, without the impact of the rand, which was, taking off around, 30 cents extra on the increases we've seen. Had that not been the case, certainly in the case of diesel, the increase could have been, well above a rand, which would obviously not have been great. Where it's going to go to, I certainly don't know. And I think it would be a very brave man who actually does, put his, hand on his heart and say it's definitely going in this direction. And it's for that reason that it makes giving a forecast on the fuel price extremely difficult, as it is with the Rand-US dollar exchange rate. We saw earlier in the week the Rand was trading at a very good band, around 17 Rand 60. Today it's well above 18 Rand 15, and that's in a matter of days. Yeah. So because it's so difficult to predict what these two major factors that influence the fuel price are going to do on a daily basis, looking ahead even a week in advance is pretty tough, let alone a month or 6 months in advance. It's unfortunately one of those things, Sally, you got to look at it day by day, get those averages, and then you get a picture. And every single day there is a factor that is going to impact on those numbers. It could be another, geopolitical event, something of what we've seen in the Ukraine that impacts on it. It could be something locally that impacts on the rand's value against the greenback. These are all things that you have to consider. At the end of the day, we're not isolated, and all of these factors ultimately are going to impact on the price we pay at the pump, and actually the price we pay for goods at the toll.
And I haven't looked back at the overall increases in our fuel since the invasion of Ukraine in February last year. I don't know if the AA has sort of had this longitudinal look, but it's been, we've had a couple of decreases as we've discussed, but realistically we've seen really sustained hikes in fuel, which has a massive knock-on on our economy.
Yes, I mean, when you look at some of these prices, Sally, in June last year, we were looking at 26 Rand 74 a litre. That was when it was really at its peak, and that's for 95 fuel. At the same time, at that point, you were looking around 23 Rand for diesel. It went up to 25 Rand 40, 25 Rand 48 in October. What we're looking at the moment is 22 for petrol. So it's around 2 Rand, 3 Rand cheaper than it was at the same time, kind of last year. But I mean, obviously, still not ideal. It has come down. I mean, when you look at what we were paying in for instance, in August in 21, I mean, there we were paying 18 Rand a litre. We're paying 4 Rand more than we were 2 years ago. And I think that gives you an indication of just how steep this climb has been. Add into that the fact that we're seeing, ongoing interest rate hikes. People's salaries and wages aren't increasing. The cost of living is becoming more expensive. Even the slightest increase to these fuel prices, it's going to hit people hard, especially those who are on the breadline, very poor people. Let's look at that illuminating paraffin price. Again, very high at a very critical time of the year.
Yeah, interesting though, LP gas decreasing by, I think, 161 cents a litre, 1 Rand 60 odd a litre. Okay. I know that your wheelhouse is cars, quite literally, and we don't have any gas-powered cars as far as I know. But that surely is going to help ease the burden in terms of heating and cooking for some homes.
For some homes. And remember, not everybody has access to gas. So it's going to definitely assist some people, sure. The bigger picture, though, Sally, is when you look at this increase to the diesel price, we know it is such an important fuel in so many different sectors. And many people are using it to power generators. So when that fuel price goes up, the retail sector, the agricultural sector, manufacturing, you name it, the road freight sector, people who are absolutely reliant on this fuel are going to see an immediate impact on their bottom line, and they're going to recover those costs by passing them on to consumers. And that's why we always make the point, fuel price increases are not just for motorists, they're for all consumers, and they have an impact on all consumers. So something that happens 5,000 kilometers away in Eastern Europe is definitely at some point, or may at some point, most likely have an impact, when you stop off at your local station to put in, 100 rands worth of fuel.
And that's the stark truth. So best we all fill up before midnight. Thank you so much, Layton Beard of the Automobile Association. Now let's